Hey everybody, it's Eddie J on crypto for growmybag.tv, and there is so much going on it's not even funny. We're going to start with the U.S. Energy Information Administration. Now, I've been telling you for a while that reports have been swooning around about the energy consumption of Bitcoin miners. And I sit back and I kind of say, well, some of those reports are accurate and some of those reports are inaccurate. Mostly what it is that take bits and pieces from everywhere, and then you might be able to build an accurate picture. But that said, the U.S. Energy Information Administration is actually going through a mandatory survey of all Bitcoin miners to get a better understanding about what their energy consumption is. Of course, when they say mandatory survey, I'm just sitting back and I'm just going, for how long has this been mandatory? But that's just me. Anyway, the next one up is Cathie Wood. Gotta love her. She's actually saying that the switch between gold and Bitcoin is underway in terms of what is going to be used as a store of value. And if you look at the value of Bitcoin versus the value of gold, Bitcoin outperforms. Now, that said, when you look at gold, it's something that's tangible, people understand it better, all that good stuff. However, she is right. Because Bitcoin is a finite resource, gold is too, but there's a hell of a lot more gold than there is Bitcoin. And there's why a lot of people are switching over to Bitcoin as a store of value over gold. Because apparently as of late, not even as of late, for the longest time, Bitcoin has been a better store of value. So if you're into gold, I suggest you do the math and see what it says to you. Now, if it was me, it doesn't mean that I'm going to get fully out of gold. It just means that I'm probably going to move some assets from gold over to Bitcoin for sure, right? For sure. Something else that I found interesting. I tell you guys all the time that when I'm looking for news, when I'm doing my research, I'm looking for many, many things. But they basically fall into two buckets: macro events, micro events. And there's a new report out by Coinbase that says they are predicting that there are going to be four or so macro events. One of them already happened. These Bitcoin Spot ETFs. Next one is going to be the halving event. And they have a couple others that are named in that report. And I suggest you go read it. Now, what they're saying is that these macro events are going to have a positive impact on Bitcoin. And I believe it. I actually do, agree with that. But it goes back to how I do my research. I'm not just looking for the here and now. I'm looking for macro and micro events. A macro event could be, I don't know, a war over the Red Sea. That's going to be a major macro event. It's already a macro event in many ways, or people thought it was going to be a macro event. Get into that in a second. In that it's disrupting the flow of products, right? Because to save time, you go through the Red Sea. Now they have to go all the way around Africa, depending on whose ship it is. But that can actually cause a problem. They also thought it was going to cause a problem for oil, and it has not. And the reason why is because the U.S. is actually producing more oil than everybody else in the world. Pound for pound, 1-to-1, we produce more oil. Hence, it hasn't really affected us. That still leaves the problem of it can become a larger macro event if the world gets drawn into a war, if more parties get drawn into that area war, right? So how would that affect crypto? I think it would be a boon to crypto because people wouldn't rely on local fiat or on fiat. Local fiat just sounds stupid, but they wouldn't have to rely on fiat. Would you trust the US dollar? Would you trust, Russian ruble? Would you trust any of those fiat that would be involved in that space? Even Chinese yuan. China is actually having issues. So now you understand why I pay attention to not just what's here in front of me, what's going on in my local space. I'm paying attention to macro events that can actually affect crypto, but not just crypto, but stocks as well. Because I don't know why people think that, I'm just going to do crypto, or I'm just going to do, no, they go hand in hand. In a lot of ways, they go hand in hand. So you want to pay attention to both spaces. So right now, China's economic, space is kind of messed up. They're going to have a meeting later on today, either later on today or tomorrow, to figure out what are they going to do to spur their economy. Their markets are up right now by like 3-4% on the different exchanges. However, they are suffering. So that's something to really pay attention to. So again, moving from looking at local things that can affect the price of crypto, from day to day. Yes, I do that. But I do deeper research on micro and macro events. Micro not necessarily being here and now, but might be subject to a single industry or a single crypto, single stock, things like that. Macro events having a much broader stroke across my portfolio. Anyway, just something I thought I'd share with you guys that I pay attention to. Now, back on November 2nd, I told you that Solana had entered into a deal with Google's AWS. Well, with Google and AWS, right? And it was called GameShift. And now they're saying, hey, GameShift is here. And it's basically, hey, we're giving you a development environment. And if you're a gaming company, you're building a game, that environment comes with an NFT marketplace built in. You can just get off to the races with that. That's huge. Solana's making big waves to make it easier for companies to actually do business on their network. Hat tip. That's definitely a hat tip. I'm expecting a nice pop from that. A judge, the judge in the Ripple versus SEC case, has given the SEC a rare win in that Ripple must disclose their tightly held financial documents. And, I'm surprised that it hasn't been done before, that they haven't, ruled on that previously. But, people are like, oh, that could have an impact on this XRP. It won't. It won't. XRP is an institutional coin. They're going after institutions to use, to leverage XRPL. Is it going to have an effect on the Ripple price? Maybe a small one, and it'll come back. Hence why I say no, it won't. So that's something to pay attention to. Something that really caught my attention. Ethereum Name Service and GoDaddy enter into a partnership to link DNS addresses with ENS names, making crypto transactions more user-friendly. Let that wash over you. So I own just about every domain, Web3 and Web2, for all of my companies. My personal name, Eddie J, I own eddiej.eth. I really do. I own, a few domains for Grow My Bag. This will enable us to actually say, here's an easy way to identify and pay via crypto. Boom. Just by dropping a name. And that name will enable you to actually pay via various cryptos, whichever ones that, we enable. That's pretty hot. That's pretty hot. And not for nothing, being that we own a web hosting company, that's going to make it easier for us to go to companies and say, let us help you manage your Web 2 and Web 3 space, and let's help to usher in your business into the new age. Wow, that's huge. Now, something that caught my eye that I actually giggled about, there were two things. And the one that triggered it was the Spanish Ministry of Finance proposes a tax resolution that says that people would be able to pay their taxes with digital assets. The thing that made me blink was they also asked I'm sorry. They asked the SEC for guidance on certain things. Like, what did you do? And I hope they ask so that it's one of those, let's find out what they did so we don't repeat it. Like, dead serious. So I'm sitting here and I'm kind of going, Spain and Portugal, especially Portugal, had wanted to be like a haven for Bitcoin. And then all of a sudden, in an immediate reversal, a complete 180, Spain said, oops, just joking, nope. And I'm like, where the hell did that come from? And it sounds like now, well, if I can pay my taxes with crypto, that'll make it easier for you? That'll make it easier for me to collect money? Yeah, that could be a thing to really open up their space, really make it easier for them, because that means that if you don't pay your taxes, they're going to come take your crypto. But that, what does that also mean? That also means they have to admit that crypto has value. See what I mean? That's what had me giggling. That's literally what had me giggling. So I'm paying attention to all this stuff, and I'm doing all this research and everything, and I'm just sitting here and I'm just saying to myself, that's huge. That is huge. It's very interesting to me. But you know what we should do? We should get into the numbers. So let's go do that. Boom, boom, boom. There you go. So as of right now, I literally just refreshed these numbers. As of right now, what's down? You go down all the way up to here, right? So who's here that I'm actually paying attention to? Wow, almost nothing. Flare is down, which is surprising. I like Flare. Apparently interwoven with XRP, but they're down 11%. Monero is down 16%. You have to pay attention to Monero. I don't play around with it. I played around. Let me refer. I hadn't played around with it in a little bit, but you got to kind of pay attention to Monero. It's like a privacy coin. Dog with hat, yeah, down 8%. Jupe down 7%. Pith Network down 7%. Remember, Pith is something I actually am interested in. Why? Because it's another Oracle like Chainlink, and the reason why I'm interested in Pith is because it's quickly become the number 2. So that's something to pay attention to. Everybody else is moving within that 5% range. You know, so Ronin has a lot of controversy because it was picked up on Binance, something to pay attention to. Injective is down 5%. So I'll be looking for a sway on Injective. Same thing for Avalanche here. Probably the same thing for Aptos. Not something I play with, but something I do pay attention to. Render is another one, down 5%. So it's not the 5. Remember, my 5% rule is if you're down 5%, up 5%, I don't really pay attention. I make note, but I don't really, but nothing else. It's the next move. It's the next sway within that 24-hour span, right? And I'm paying attention to what's been the history, you know, that short-term history that 5% move can make. Is it a profit-taking little move? You know, just what is it? So for me, I'm paying attention to those kinds of things because depending on what the history is, if I can kind of play around with, well, I think it'll do this, I think it'll do that, I might play those bounces. Right? We're kind of moving sideways right now, so I might play those bounces just so I can make money. Just saying. On the flip side, you come down, that's almost the same doggone spot. What you got? 1, 2, 3, 4, you're down to here. Right? Wow, that's pretty close. Let's see who's measuring around. Zai is up 6%. That's the gaming platform I told you guys about. I am interested in that. I'm very much interested in that. $300 million as a market cap is not bad. Dead serious. So I'm paying attention to that one. Is there anybody else up here that I'm paying attention? No. I keep telling you, I have to do some research on BitTensor. I just have not had the time. I've not had the time. We've got a lot of stuff going on. We're launching new features on Grow My Bag. We're implementing some of those features across a couple of our other social media platforms. We're creating new videos. We're working on that class that I keep telling you guys about. We just had a conversation with that larger school. We're going to announce that later, but we just had an announcement with another company that has a larger course. It's not a class, it's a course. For those people that might be interested in actually getting a career in the crypto space, here's a way to do it. And not just with crypto companies, but with companies that are doing crypto. That's something that we'll be able to talk about. There's more to come on that. So we're going to give a class so you can kind of get your feet wet, understand like what is crypto, how do you do the research? Am I actually prepared to make that kind of a move? And if you do well and you think you've got the chops, because we want to make sure that if you're going to spend money on a course, on a big course, you should be able to take a smaller class, get an understanding, and maybe that's all you need to actually make the jump. Just saying. So that'll be coming soon. But looking at this list, I'm seeing that Helium Mobile, 5% move. Who else? Optimism, a 5% move. That's about it from there. Go up the list. Like I said, BitTensor is the last one that I was looking at. Everybody else except for Xi, not really paying attention to, right? So that's actually not bad. That's not bad. But again, what does it say? It says the market is moving sideways. It's moving sideways. Now you know why I said I'm paying attention to sways. I'm not paying attention to a single direction move. I'm looking for the next move. I'm looking for those sways. How much is it? Do I have more to go up after that 5%? Do I have more to go down after that 5%? I'm not going to be able to call, the tops and bottoms, but I might be able to call those in betweens where I can buy on the low, sell on the high, and bounce between the two. Of course, keeping track of every move that I make, I have the tool. If you look at this tool, you'll notice that I have tabs down here. This is actually my whole tool. Everything happens right here. I track everything. I mean, this is my dumb account that I use. I was actually using this previously to show you guys, like, this is how your tracking should work if you want to make everything offline, right? And I was showing you guys how to do DCA, but I stopped that because it just got really, really busy, really, really hectic. But still interesting. Now, let's get into stocks a little bit. Eli Lilly is reporting today. Amgen is reporting today. Gilead. So you have a lot of companies in the pharma space that are reporting today. Fiserv, deep into banking. There's not a single bank in the top 90%. That's right, you heard me. Top 90% of banks, credit unions, utilize some form of software from Fiserv. So that's going to be a very telling earnings report. KKR is reporting. Chipotle, interesting. Going to be looking at that because that's going to give me a hint toward the fast food space. Fortinet is coming out. Carrier is coming out. Ford is coming out. Spotify. Not expecting big things from Spotify, but it'll be out this morning if it hasn't already been out. And you can tell by depending on where you are, they'll tell you if they're releasing before or after market. Very rare do you ever see anybody, talking about anything in between. Cognizant Technology. The reason why I'm paying attention to Cognizant, they're inside all the banks too, and I'm expecting they're going to say, "Oh, we took a hit because a lot of banks, had layoffs." So I'm expecting not so great things. Prudential is out. Gartner, something I'm paying attention to, is going to be out. Those are very interesting things. GE Healthcare. So everything spanning healthcare and pharma, I'm looking at that space. I'm looking at that space big time. I think those spaces have a lot of room to grow, and that's why I'm looking at them. Don't have to pay attention to this. Let's see. Fear and Greed Index from 60 to 64 now. Not a bad move. I'm expecting more positivity as we move forward. And look at this number. Total value locked, $78.5 billion in total value locked. That's really, really big. Pay attention, folks. Pay attention. Do your own research and see how things work out for you. Now, remember what I was telling you about, highs and lows, when I can buy, when those peaks and dips are going to happen. And again, still operating within one of the most narrow bands I've ever seen at 41,416 and 44,471. And we're still there. We're still operating. Now, I would expect this to go down a little bit more before it comes back up. Hence, I might wait to go buy something and then wait for it to go up again and then just ping pong back and forth. I knew a guy once, he chose, I think, a set of like 3 or 4 stocks, and those were the only stocks he played, and it's because they had the most volatility. And he played around within like a 10% range, not a 10% range of stocks, but he operated within a specific range for those stocks. And as it approached the range, he would sell, buy, sell, and keep it going. And that's all he did. And he made money. What the heck? Connection timed out. That's odd. That's very odd. That doesn't happen a lot. All right. Well, maybe the big board doesn't show up. Let's see. If you're looking at numbers going across the board right now, you have Ethereum is green for year to date. Bitcoin is green for year to date. Something else that happened that people probably are not talking about that much. I want you to look at number 10, Dogecoin, and I want you to look at number 11, Chainlink. For a period of time, Chainlink had bunny hop Doge to become number 10. And I think they're about to do it again. right? Year to date, very similar. When you look at Doge and Avalanche, but then when you scoot down to number 11 and you look over here, up 25% on the year. Chainlink is making huge moves. Now you know why I'm looking at Pith Network. Chainlink is by far the number one. However, that does not mean that a strong number two can't come along. And I think that can be Pith. I really do think that can be Pith. So if I'm looking at these numbers are not bad. Over the past 7 days, you could have made 23%. Yeah, you're down over the past 24 hours and past 24 hours and past hour. But over the past 7 days, just 1 week, you could have been up 23%. Now you know why I tell you I cannot possibly research every single crypto or stock that's out there. I pick the things that I'm interested in and I try to dig in right there so that I can get as in-depth as possible so I can know, oh, Chainlink is doing something. That news is going to hit the rest of the population later on. Let me see if I can get in now. How long ago was it that freaking Chainlink was at $12? When it was at 14, I told you, well, that's something. I told you at 12. Now it's at $18. If it surpasses 20, that's going to be huge. Yes, you remember when I bought in. I bought in a couple of weeks ago. Or rather, I added to the bag. Right? These are things that it's just not working. It's probably my IP address. No worries, because I block almost everything. Anyway, this is Eddie J on crypto for growmybag.tv. If you like what I'm doing, do me a favor, drop me a note on Grow My Bag and tell me what you like. As well as I'd like you to hit me on growmybag.tv so you can tell me what you don't like. And something else I would like you to enjoy is everything that I speak about, I've already written the article, I've already published it. So when I record at before 7 a.m. my time, those articles are already published because I'm up at 4 o'clock starting to do my research. Yeah, I know it's kind of nuts, but yeah, I have a long day. I don't require a lot of sleep, and I like doing the research, and I like letting you guys know what's going on out there. Anyway, also let me know. We're building out that class, and secretly we have somebody who's working on a longer course, but we're really building out that class. If there are things that you would like to see in that class, please let me know. Drop me a note. Anyway, hope you guys have a good one. Bye-bye.